In case you were ever worried, we will never run out of water. In the billions of years that Earth has existed, there has been water in such abundant quantities that we will never run out of it. Water accounts for 71% of the Earth's surface, including all the oceans, which make up about 96.5% of all water. But did you know that 80% of Earth's oceans remain unexplored? To put this in context, we know more about the surface of Mars and the Moon than we do about our own oceans. There's so much that we don't know, and yet there's so much that we've found. In the years leading up to now, oceanographers and researchers have made fascinating discoveries, from uncovering ancient civilizations to sea creatures straight out of myth and legend. Yes, even concepts that will revolutionize our search for alien life in the universe. So, with that in mind, let's take a deeper dive into these discoveries. We've all seen Aquaman, so we have a basic image in our minds when we hear the word trench. It's a place void of light and heat, where the monsters of the sea roam free. But to put it in scientific terms, trenches are large depressions on the ocean floor. Think of them as valleys that were formed due to the action of tectonic plates. Humongous moving slabs of rock that fit together like puzzle pieces below the Earth's surface. The Mariana Trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of Guam. It's found at the lowest depths of the ocean, also known as the hadopelagic or Huddall zone. It's so far away from the sun, sunlight hasn't hit the bottom for billions of years. Scientists have said that if you place Mount Everest at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the peak would still be 2,133 meters below sea level. That's how deep the trench is. Any human going to the Mariana Trench, besides having to deal with the below freezing temperatures, will have to endure the pressure, likened to the force of 40 airplanes on top of one human. Now, the Mariana Trench is full of fascinating phenomena, but more than that, it has some of the greatest collections of the most bizarre-looking sea creatures you will ever see. The trench contains an assortment of bacteria, crustaceans, arthropods, sea cucumbers, and monster fishes, and even Mariana snailfish, which lives at depths of 8,000 meters. Now, it's not actually clear how these creatures survive these extreme conditions, and tons of studies are still being done to understand what other mysteries lie within the Mariana Trench. This will impact humans in all sorts of ways, from healthcare to food and energy resources, not to mention the detection of calamities such as earthquakes before they happen. In 2011, Swedish underwater excavators found what appeared to be a perfectly round object at the bottom of the Gulf of Bothnia. From sonar readings, they could see that this strange object was 16 feet in diameter and perfectly round. As you can imagine, the internet had a field day, with speculations of it being a flying saucer of extraterrestrial origin. The leader of the research team, Lindenberg, said that it could be a flying saucer, since he hasn't seen anything like it in his 18 years of research. But no one knows if flying saucers are round, so the object could be something man-made that's stuck to the ocean floor. The bamboozled Lindenberg and his team decided to not investigate it or try to excavate it, because that would take a lot of work and money for something that could be nothing. Now, when you think of the word pyramid, you most likely go straight to the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt. But did you know Japanese pyramids were discovered underneath the frigid waters of Okinawa in 1986? Full of roads, complicated paths, and perfectly cut rocks worthy of modern architecture, the pyramids are a historical spectacle. What's even more spectacular is the age of the pyramids, estimated to be over 10,000 years old. This is quite curious because the oldest Japanese civilization ever recorded that lived around that time was known as the Hunters and Foragers, and they weren't very well versed in architecture. So, who built the pyramids? There are many theories. Some say the pyramids are of alien origin, and some say that this is evidence of an older civilization very advanced for their time. Either way, the Japanese pyramids are quite incredible, not just because they're underwater, but because of their age. Seeing that the oldest pyramids in Egypt are about 5,000 years old, these pyramids are now the oldest in history. Is it possible for a river to be within a sea? Yes. A discovery was made of an underwater river flowing at the bottom of the Black Sea. The river behaves a lot like its terrestrial counterparts, having rapids and waterfalls. Yes, there are even waterfalls inside the sea. At a depth of 115 meters, it's said that if the river were to be on land, it would be the 6th largest river in the world, processing bigger waves than the River Thames. This unnamed river has a high salt and sediment concentration, so it's denser than the surrounding water, flowing over abyssal plains which are the deserts of the sea, where little to no life is found. This river serves as a supply of nutrients to these parts which enable life to exist. This wouldn't be a list of underwater discoveries without a little treasure worthy of a pirate's adventure. The galleon San Jose, also known as the mother of all shipwrecks, was a vessel from the 1700s that sunk in 1708 near Colombia's Caribbean port. This ship was said to be carrying $17 billion worth of gold, silver, and emeralds, all lying at the bottom of the sea, and it's still there to this day. So why hasn't it been excavated? Well, the ship and all its contents have been subject to a lot of disputes on the grounds of ownership. Both the Colombian and Spanish governments, private corporations, and even the United States have made claims to the galleon San Jose. It's not clear who owns the rights to this ship, and it's a case currently being looked over in the Court of the United Nations. So, to all you ever-curious pirates out there thinking of taking the treasure due to the dispute, think again, because the treasure and its location are heavily guarded by the Colombian Navy. Speaking of things that are out of a pirate's tale in old sea legends, ever heard of Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, and the infamous Kraken? The colossal squid is no longer some story from Scandinavian lore or H.P. Lovecraft, but an actual being in the sea. The squid is 46 feet long on average and weighs at least 500 kilograms, or 1,100 pounds. That's longer than your average school bus, which is about 39 feet. The colossal squid is so big that it feeds on whales. The colossal squid roams the Atlantic waters, preferring the chilly waters in the wild open space, hence why we don't see a lot of colossal squid, although it does venture as far as New Zealand to hunt, as well as search for a mate. This isn't some misnomer or an exaggeration. These are icy fingers of death called brinicles. They are actual frozen finger-like structures that stretch from the top of the ocean to the sea floor and freeze everything on their path, killing any organism caught in its process. Brinicles occur in the polar regions of the planet. They are like little icicles that form underwater due to extreme temperatures. They are actually quite beautiful, even though it's not exactly a thing of beauty to the starfish and the sea anemone that's caught in its path. Brinicles aren't just believed to be heralds of death, but also a cradle of life. Some believe that the pristine structure and chemical composition of the brinicle could serve as a membrane that could eventually produce life. Areas like these are currently of interest to NASA because the study of our oceans will help us understand the oceans in space. There are a lot of oceans in space. In fact, the Earth is dry in comparison to some planets out there. For example, one of Jupiter's moons, Europa, has almost 3 times the amount of water that Earth has. But it's mostly covered by ice. And it's so cold we haven't seen any signs of life. Understanding places like the Mariana Trench, and most especially concepts like brinicles, could take us one step further in our search for extraterrestrials. And that's all we have for this deep dive. Thank you so much for watching, and please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to keep up to date with all of our new videos. We'll see you next time.